Namaste everyone. I am Tina, a yoga practitioner. We welcome you, sir, to the online Gurukulam session by Indian Yoga Association. So today we have with us Shri Subodh Tiwari ji. He's the son of Dr. O.P. Tiwari ji, one of few masters teaching pranayama practices with classical technique. Shri Subodh ji is the CEO of Kaivalyadhama and Secretary General of Indian Yoga Association. He's also an ardent nature lover. In last 2 decades, he has achieved many milestones in the field of yoga. So, online Gurukulam Learn with Masters, one of its kind of initiative by Indian Yoga Association, brings to you yoga guru from around the world to share their journey and words of wisdom. Online Gurukulam aims at bridging the gap between guru and the disciple. It's an endeavor to provide yoga lovers and followers of our Vedic culture a chance to meet the world-renowned yoga gurus and learn with them. So let's begin. Let's start. Starting from the very basic question. The first one is, what is yoga?
Well, I always say that the technical terminology which normally people say, yuj and the yuj dhatu and to join and that is of course very important, where there is an element of synthesis between energies, a union between Atma and Paramatma. There are various definitions which people go through. But for me, I always tell people that I look at yoga as being able to do what you already know needs to be done. So the ability to execute, the ability, the strength to enable you to act on what you know and what jnana you have is yoga, and that is also yoga 360. And I will qualify that statement because I interact a lot with students. And I say that most of us try to do yoga for 1.5 hours and forget about it. And I say yoga is important, but upayog of yoga is very important. So it has to be that enablement for 24/7 in our lives.
Okay, sir. Coming on to the second one. So is yoga, pranayama and meditation interrelated?
Yoga is the umbrella under which the principles of Ashtanga Yoga have been enumerated by Maharishi Patanjali. Today's world has started to treat it as a separate entity, and pranayama as a separate entity, and yogasana as a separate entity, and dhyana. But it is the inclusiveness into the Ashtanga Yoga where Maharishi Patanjali lays down the yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So these are all the aspect of Ashtanga Yoga, and definitely they are related because there is a connection of concurrence. And this needs to be understood fairly clearly, because often we mistake the Ashtanga Yoga as 8 steps of yoga, whereas there are 8 limbs of yoga which exist together. So pranayama, dhyana, these aspects are concurrent in nature. They are related because they are interdependent on each other. One leads to the other is sustained by the other. So yes, definitely that answer is affirmative.
Perfect. Okay, sir. Who is a guru?
There is a lot of philosophical definitions which I make it very simple, and I think guru is someone who's able to illuminate the path of a seeker, but at the same time ensure that the seeker develops the ability to be self-dependent. So illumination through knowledge, through transferring the wisdom which the Guru has, and in such a way that the path is traveled by that seeker with the confidence, with the knowledge, with the wisdom on his own. So that in real sense, I think, is the definition of Guru.
Okay, sir. So you are the torch bearer of such a strong legacy. Started in 1924, Kaivalyadhama has almost completed a century of teaching and spreading awareness about yoga and pranayama. So how has your journey been?
Journey has been beautiful because Kaivalyadhama started in 1924 by Swami Kaivalyanandaji. And for the first time, the philosophical aspect of yoga was put under a scientific scrutiny. So that was a very important milestone in the history of yoga in modern times. At the same time, one realizes that Swamiji lit a flame which carried on globally. And therefore, the special part of it has been that for the first time, scientific research started in Kaivalyadhama. For the first time, the philosophical research in yoga started in Kaivalyadhama. And one needs to understand the import. Philosophical literary research means that the important texts of yoga and the manuscripts which were not available to the common man were published through Kaivalyadhama. The first ever formal college of yoga, first in the world, was in Kaivalyadhama in 1950, called the Govardhan Das Six-Area College of Yoga and Cultural Synthesis. And in this whole journey in the world of yoga, it becomes important. For the first time, conception of a formal course was here. 1961 was the first ever dedicated yoga hospital in the world, where we say yoga chikitsa, yoga therapy. So many firsts which happened in Kaivalyadhama. The most important aspect of me being born here, brought up here, rededicated my life now to Kaivalyadhama. Swami Kaivalyanandaji always believed that it is an institution and it's not a person-centric institution. So therefore, when you come to Kaivalyadhama, the good part is you have so many great experts in this field of yoga, philosophy, science, teaching, that it's that sum of individuals who carry this lamp of undiluted yoga and run that relay race, passing the baton from one person to the other. So the beauty lies in the synthesis of the tradition and science here at Kaivalyadhama. And we feel really proud to carry the rich heritage of the traditional yoga as envisioned by Maharishi Patanjali.
Okay, sir. So after all these diseases going around, the mental health is emerging as one of the major challenges that world is facing today. So we still fail to accept that for healthy body, healthy mind is equally important. So what are your views on this?
Well, I think that statement is very affirmative and very true to what is there. If we ask anyone, how are you? And that person has no headache, no shoulder ache, no knee ache, no leg, everything is okay, they say, I am perfectly all right. Even though at their mental level, at their emotional level, they might be disturbed or they might not be in synchronicity. And that exactly is the emphasis of yoga. And that exactly is the importance which yoga gets to the holistic well-being of a human being. And I always say that yoga is for your physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual well-being. And therefore, you are as good as your holistic well-being. You need to be in synchronization of everything. And mental health, of course, becomes the one of the most important dimensions, because that is the driving force for the rational human being. And that is what distinguishes a human being from animals. As it is said, there are four similarities. Ahara, Nidra, Bhai, Maithunancha. These are four, hunger, sleep, fear, and sensual pleasure are same to animal kingdom and human being. Dharme nahi ne adhike visheshu. The difference is the intellect, and that distinguishes the human being from the animals. So maintaining that harmony is very important. Yoga plays very, very important role in your mental health. And I feel that while we look at yoga, it treats the body and mind as a same complex. It does not compartmentalize it. Like we say, body influences the mind, mind influences the body. But please remember that the influence of your mind over body is far, far greater than only of your body or the mind.
Perfectly fine, sir. Okay. So in these times when people only believe in earning and spending, yoga can offer a much needed stability. So what can be done to make sure that youngsters make yoga their lifestyles?
Make it interesting. And that's why I said that, in answering your questions, if you're looking at conventional answers of what is written in this text, in fact, I don't, because I say that while I interact with thousands of students of the universities, one thing which I realize is this generation of what we say is Z generation now, I think because of the exposure to so much of information and so much of knowledge around, I think they are bright. And so it is important for us to have that transition from the way we transact the knowledge. So if this generation needs to be reached, there needs to be simplification in understanding. There needs to be simplification in practices. There needs to be simplification in ensuring that we are able to make them understand the benefits. And finally, there should be no strict regimentation attached with what you are trying to say. So you say that, 10 minutes of Brahmari or Omkar is good. Please practice if you feel this, and it will be good. Once that this youngsters experience that, I don't think I have this huge interaction with this college crowd, and I've seen that they're so attentive to what you have told them that if it clicks, then it's in their lifestyle. So I said simplicity, easiness of transition, and don't attach too much of regimentation to what you are trying to get it to them.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Education is an important tool to sensitize people. Schools are teaching and helping kids learn yoga. So what other steps should be taken to promote the science?
I think the International Day of Yoga, all this, the popularity of yoga has increased. This needs to be a continuous effort. One thing I definitely feel is that schools are very important institutions where the real essence of yoga could be delivered, could be shared. I often remember in school, we used to have this period of moral science. And I still wonder, what did I learn from it? So I believe that first, getting yoga in its experiential forms in the school is important. Don't make it one more subject. Students are anyways tired. If you make it a subject, they will again look at scoring. without remembering what it means. I still don't remember many of my theorems and many of them because I just wanted to finish as soon as possible. But what was beautifully explained to me by my chemistry teacher in the way of that, the equation and H2SO4 plus CO2, all that, what happens, that I would still remember. So experiential transaction of yoga is very important. And teachers in school need to be oriented to understand that yoga is not about body alone. Simplistic nature of transaction by giving the importance to the holisticness of yoga and doing it in the right way in the schools would lend a great helping hand in promotion of the science. Because please remember, if you do it at schools, every child will be equipped with something, a tool which is important in their life. They can use it whenever it occurs. So that's my view, but that's also my experience having been in the field of policy making for the schools with NCERT, with Navodaya Vidyalaya, with Kendriya Vidyalaya. So I've spent almost a decade trying to inculcate this. And I've seen wherever the teachers have been good, wherever it is experiential, students have loved it and taken it ahead.
Okay. So how beneficial has yoga breaks been in corporate culture?
Nice question. And Kaivalyadhama was part of this trial run with Ministry of Ayush. And we had 6 big corporates in Mumbai where we did Y break for 3 months. And initially people were, in field of yoga, we say, yoga se hoga. In the corporate world, they used to say, yoga se kya hoga? Because they still would prefer a coffee break or a cigarette break. But the important learning is, which I always say, yoga is experiential. You and me can go on talking about it for hours, but the moment someone leans to it with understanding, it's different. So when these corporate guys started to practice this for 10 minutes a day, results are seen objectively. All of the 6 companies continue to have this Y break even after 3 months of sponsored classes. And they spend on their own. So what did that mean? That simply meant that people were happy. Y break was simple, no big philosophies, no 1-hour sessions, no requirement of yoga mats in the office. Not that it is not required, but to start with, it was perfect. My back, my shoulders, my attention, my eyes, everything are taken care of. It's doable. And it worked brilliantly. And I think that we should really take this effort of Y break ahead across the globe. It is very, very effective, as a practical experience.
Amazing. Okay, so how important is research in yoga, pranayama, and meditation?
I think, research emphasizes on understanding of the rationality, which appeals to large number of people. Very simple. So establishing the efficacy of practices of asanas, pranayama, meditative techniques, just take it to another level where you will have more practitioners believing in the science. There is a cardiologist in Rajkot who ensures that before his patients are admitted to do a angiography or open heart surgery, they practice pranayama for 15 days because he emphasizes that the recovery period of these people are post-surgery is better than normal people. And he arrived at this conclusion after researching so many patients. And now, because of this research, other cardiologists are very open to try this. So research is essential because it establishes a rationalistic acceptance and point of view about yoga in that fraternity. So when you want to apply yoga in education and therapy, it is very essential. If you are going for your own spiritual experiences, then research may not be necessary because you are your own research lab. So that is on you. So one needs to distinguish it. But for applied yoga and for yoga in education, I think it is very essential and very, very effective.
So now coming on to the last question, can yoga helps us win over our mind, reduce pain, suffering, anxiety, and depression?
Research evidences have proved beyond doubt that practices such as yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, and dharana are able to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic is that doing part, more of activity based, sometimes hyperactivity. Parasympathetic is what is responsible for slowing down. Anxiety, anger, frustration, all these are result of heightened stress, which is result of, more of the sympathetic activities taking place. So when we have the evidence that yoga relaxes a person at the level of his mind and subconscious, it activates his parasympathetic nervous system. And therefore, yoga, in fact, has the ability and the capability to make a better human being. And better human being includes all the aspects of his personality. And at mostly at the level of his emotion and the level of his mind. And I will always say that, ensure that one practices regularly. It does not matter whether it is for 10 minutes or 1 hour, 1.5 hours, but make it part of your lifestyle. And practices of dimensions of yoga, limbs of yoga, such as yamas, niyamas, asanas, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, will have a wonderful effect of being more positive, more harmonious, and more human, what human beings should be.
Perfect, sir. Okay, so done with the questions now. Thank you, sir, for giving us your time and sharing the wisdom. It was really a wonderful session. Thank you so much to all the viewers also. Thank you.
Thank you.